All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're getting into something really personal, the blueprint of your beliefs. We're going to explore how your own moral compass was built, piece by piece, from when you were a kid all the way to now. So let's just start with a huge question. Really think about it. Why do you believe what you believe? Where does that gut feeling of this is right and that is wrong actually come from? It feels like it's just part of you, right? But what we're going to see is that this deep sense of morality isn't something we're born with. Nope. It's something we learn. Okay, so let's dive right in. The best way to think about your values is not as something you just have, but as something that's been built over a long, long time. And this whole construction project, it starts the second you're born, and it's shaped by everything: your family, your friends, your experiences. And here's the thing, building values isn't like studying for a history test. There's this beautiful idea that it's really the training of the heart. It's not about memorizing a bunch of rules. It's about educating our feelings, our emotions. And that's a process that starts at home. It's often more caught than it is taught. Now, there's a technical term for this whole process, and it's called socialization. It's basically how a society passes down its culture, its unwritten rules, its customs, its values, from one generation to the next. It's the process that gives all of us the basic skills and habits we need to just function together as a group. So, how does this actually play out in real life? Well, according to sociologist Morris Massey, our journey of developing values happens in three very distinct and really critical stages. Let's break down how our moral compass gets built, one stage at a time. And here they are. First, the imprint period. Then comes the modeling period. And finally, the socialization period. Each one of these phases has a totally different main influence that shapes who we become. So let's get into what happens in each one. First up, from birth to about age 7, you've got the imprint period. And the best way to picture this is to think of a child as a little sponge. We just soak up everything around us, and we accept it all as the absolute gospel truth, especially if it comes from our parents. This is where our most basic foundational sense of good and bad gets locked in. Then, from around age 8 to 13, we move into the modeling period. Now here's the shift. We go from just passively absorbing everything to actively copying people. We start to consciously imitate the behavior of the people we look up to. And that circle of people we admire, it gets bigger. It's not just our parents anymore, it's teachers, friends, and yeah, even celebrities we see on TV or online. And finally, we hit a socialization period, which kicks in around 13 and goes to 21. This is when the peer group takes center stage. The influence of our friends becomes unbelievably powerful. We find ourselves drawn to people who seem like us, who share our attitudes, and we start to adopt the values of that social circle as our own. Okay, so now we know when our values form, but let's get into the how. And that story, you guessed it, starts in our very first and most important environment, the home. The source material we're looking at basically lays out a kind of parental toolkit for building a child's moral framework. It includes 4 key behaviors: induction, nurturance, modeling, and decision-making. Let's zoom in on 2 of the most powerful ones, induction and modeling. So this first one, induction, is described as pretty much the single most powerful parental influence. And it's not just about telling a kid do this or don't do that. It's about explaining the reasons behind the rules. And crucially, it's about helping them see how their actions actually affect other people. That's what connects their brain to their heart. It builds empathy. And the second huge tool is modeling. You know that old saying, do as I say, not as I do? Well, it just doesn't work. Not at all. Because kids are always watching how their parents handle a disagreement, or how they treat a stranger, or how they show compassion. That becomes the real lesson, the one that sinks in way deeper than any lecture ever could. But of course, home isn't the only place we learn. As we get older, our world expands, and some powerful new teachers show up on the scene, our friends and our neighborhood. And this is where it gets really interesting, because our family and our friends teach us very different but equally important lessons. Our family gives us that foundation, the rules, the security. But our peers, they're the ones who teach us about relationships between equals. They teach us about fairness, about give and take, often through arguing and then figuring out how to make up. In fact, there's a fascinating idea from the psychologist Piaget that those arguments with friends are absolutely essential. Think about it. A disagreement forces you to step outside your own bubble and try to see the world from someone else's point of view. This is how we develop what's called role-taking skills, which is a total cornerstone of mature moral thinking. So if we pull all these lessons from the outside world together, here's what we get. Our social universe gets way bigger than our living room. We learn how to deal with people on an equal footing. We see our own beliefs either confirmed or challenged by others, and the community all around us sets these unwritten rules for what's considered normal, acceptable behavior. So what's the big takeaway here? It's that our moral compass isn't some fixed object we're born with. Not at all. It's a dynamic, living thing. It's constantly being tweaked and recalibrated by a lifetime of interactions with the people and the places that matter most to us. So we'll end on this thought. Just like we were shaped by other people, we are, right now, shaping the people around us. Our kids, our friends, our coworkers. We are all models for someone. So the real question is, what values are you teaching by your example?